Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 9, Detachment for all that is material. This is also part of UDDHAVA GITA. Please join us for Harinam. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnavind ki jai. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the Mangalachan prayers. We'll do it together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiryet Shautam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Sahassatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Rutam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtaki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto, Chapter 9, Detachment from all that is material. Please join us for the recitation of the first verse. Shri Brahman Uvacha
Shri Brahman Uvacha
Parigraho hi dukkhaya
Parigraho hi dukkhaya
Yad yad priyatamam nranam
Yadyat priyatam nranam
Anantam sukham apnoti
Anantam sukham apnoti
Tadvidvam yastva kinchanaha.
Tadvidvan yastva akinchana.
Please.
Shri Brahman Uvacha
Shri Brahman Uvacha
Parigraho hi dukkhaya
Parigraho hi dukkhaya
Yad yat priyatamam nranam
Yad yad priyatamam nranam
Anantam sukham apnoti
Anantam sukham apnoti
Tadvidvan yastva akinchana.
Tadvidvam yastva akinchanaha. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The saintly Brahman said, everyone considers certain things within the material world to be most dear to him. And because of attachment to such things, one eventually becomes miserable. One who understands this gives up material possessiveness and attachment and thus achieves unlimited happiness. There is no purport. So next verse. Once a group of large hawks who were unable to find any prey attacked another weaker hawk who was holding some meat. At that time, being in danger of his life, the hawk gave up his meat and experienced actual happiness. Purport. Incited by the modes of nature, birds become violent and kill other birds to eat them or to steal meat captured by them. Hawks, vultures, and eagles are in this category. However, one should give up the envious propensity to commit violence against others and should take to Krishna consciousness, whereby one sees every living entity as equal to oneself. On this platform of actual happiness, one does not envy anyone and thus sees no one as his enemies. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yad Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This is where Lord Dattatreya, he is the Brahman. So who's the Brahman speaking? This is Lord Dattatreya, an expansion of Lord Shri Krishna. And who is he speaking to? He is speaking to Yadu Maharaj, who appeared, much earlier. He was son of Yayati, King Yayati. And we covered, King Yayati's life in 9th canto earlier. So in that class, we covered how when he had approached Yadu Maharaj to exchange his old age with the youth of Yadu Maharaj, at that time, King Yadu, who was very opulent, very powerful king, he had said that, my dear father, once, in this life, one has to experience dharma, artha, kam, moksha. So again, that is, the religious principles being laid out specifically for grihasthas. And being a grihastha, he is identifying as his swadharma. So there is Sanatan Dharma and there is Swadharma, two different dharmas one has to pay attention to. And now when he meets Lord Dattatreya and as Avadhuta Brahman, and he submissively inquires from Avadhuta Brahman, so he's making an inquiry in a very submissive mood. So that is also very important. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya ubdeksyanti taj jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. So it is a process. The process is that one has to take shelter of a spiritual master and ask submissively, prashnena sevya, and then also render service unto him. So King Yadu, he asks, how are you wandering in this world completely carefree, not caring about anything about your surrounding? You seem to be transcendental to not just to the three modes of material nature, but also transcendental to what's happening around you. So that's carefree, not carelessness, right? And here, Lord Dattatreya, so in the previous two chapters, in chapter 7 of 11th canto, Lord Dattatreya covered 9 gurus. And the last chapter, chapter 8, Lord Dattatreya, as Avadhuta Brahman, he covered the 7 gurus. And now, he is covering the remaining 8 gurus. Actually, he covered 7 and then 8 in the previous one. 8 in the chapter 7, and then he covered 9 in the previous one. So that's 17 actually. 8 plus 9 is 17. And then from 18 to 24, 7 gurus he's going to cover here. But there is some bonus also he's going to reveal at the end. And here we learn in this particular chapter how to make this life perfect. We can study qualities of saintly souls. And Lord Dattatreya is saying that by using our intelligence, specifically in the mode of goodness, when we are looking at it, yes, intelligence is born in the mode of passion. But yet at the same time, by practicing, by keeping ourselves in the mode of goodness, our very existence, and following the transcendental qualities, acquiring, so you can culture these qualities. And of all of those 26 qualities one can develop, the topmost is considered tolerance. And tolerance is all about that we have the flexibility to choose, and we can choose any of the choice, any of the options that has been given to us. However, we tolerate, and take the choice which sometimes is the toughest one and is beneficial to humanity. So that is also a criteria in the Shastras. So the activity that leads to benefit of society, that leads to spread of love, spread of happiness, spread of smile all around the world. That is the kind of activities we should be endeavoring in and taking on and progressing. Yet at the same time, Swadharma and Sanatana Dharma. So that's the difference. So Yadu Maharaj was a very powerful king, and Yayati said that none of you or none of your descendants would become ruler, kings. Hare Krishna. So he was cursed by his own father. Yet at the same time, Lord Krishna appeared in this dynasty, in the dynasty of Yadu Maharaj. That's why they were all called Yadavas, Yadav or Yadav dynasty. And this particular narration of Yadu Maharaj and Avdut Brahman is being described to Uddhav by Lord Shri Krishna himself, because he wants Uddhav to leave Dwarka and go to Badrika Ashram and take this message of Godhead to the great rishis at Badrika Ashram, especially Narnaya Rishi, to satisfy their desire to have these instructions from Lord Shri Krishna. And without wasting any time, Lord Dattatreya immediately dives into the various gurus we'll be covering in this particular chapter, the 7 gurus. And also there will be a bonus aspect that will be covered. So Kurara Bird has been referred, which is a hawk, right? And as we covered in the translation, that big birds, they eat the small birds. And Srila Prabhupada discusses how in the book, Life Comes From Life, as how there is this food chain is being described, in the animal kingdom specifically, and how in this particular translation, a Kurara bird is, a powerful hawk is attacking a weaker hawk and thus taking away what the weaker hawk has, the meat. And when the weaker hawk realizes what is more important, is the food more important or my life more important? So if you are given a choice, you have something in your possession, is that more important or is your life more important? What would you choose? So in this particular case, the weaker hawk, he decides to let go of the meat. And just because he let go of the meat in the right time, he was not killed by the powerful big hawks. And he experienced happiness, actual happiness. So this is happiness coming because of detachment. And that's the topic of this chapter, detachment from all that is material. So we have to detach ourselves from material aspects while attach ourselves with the spiritual aspects. So sometimes when there is swadharma, they are in conflict with each other. And these dharmas, the swadharmas, is also related to the various positions we take. And that's why Lord Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, he's also revealing to Arjuna that Chatur Varna Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So these varnas, the various dharmas that we follow, are based on our positions in the varnashram. So that is being described based on our karmas, our deeds, as well as the various natural propensities, the samskaras, for many lives, the kind of impressions our mind has been carrying. So that's samskars. The various impressions that we carry in our mind. So when somebody, puts us in, when we are put in a specific situation, we behave in a specific manner, right? COVID-19. So when this pandemic is there, everyone is in lockdown. Because of the propensities they have acquired, they would engage in different kind of activities. Devotees engage in glorifying the Lordship. People who are not yet devotee, they will, follow the basic propensity that they have accordingly. And some people who have demonic nature, they will have this mantra, eat, sleep and be merry. So that's their mantra. That there is no God, there is no one in control in this life, and the purpose of life is to just have sense gratification. So they want to enjoy, their senses. They want to gratify their senses, and they are constantly lamenting and anxiety because now they cannot go outside to enjoy, right? And there are people who are not seeking so much of sense gratification, but when we look at their propensities, we see even higher than sense gratification. They are looking after name, fame, and glories, and they are going out. They are not able to go out and see that their followers are glorifying them. All these propensities are there, and these are material propensities. Because why are they material? Because every one of them is putting themselves in the center. While devotees, we would like to put Lord Krishna in the center. We would like to glorify Him. We would like to hear about Him. And here Lord Dattatreya, who is an expansion of Lord Shri Krishna, he is revealing to Yadu Maharaj, bringing him from his Swadharma concepts to Sanatan Dharma. So he is enlightening Yadu Maharaj with this 24 gurus to help him understand how to transcend this material world. And here in this particular chapter, we learn how to make our life perfect, simply by attaching ourselves, our mind, our activities, everything, surrendering at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, putting him in the center, dovetailing all our activities for his pleasure, and taking us out from the center and putting us in a serving state. That's the mindset of a devotee. And automatically things happen. Just like when one is hungry, and in reality, in this material world, everyone is hankering for something, right? So everyone is hungry for something. And they are trying different things. And we talk about mirages in the desert. People are chasing those mirages. Yet at the same time, devotees engage in devotional service. And just like when a hungry person starts to eat, prasad, the food stuff. So when they're eating food, slowly and slowly with every morsel, they're experiencing pleasure, of course. It's palatable food, so the taste is enjoying the taste of the food, the various flavors and the aroma that's coming from the food. The nose is enjoying the aroma, and the eyes are happy to see that there is food which it had been looking for so long. And as one eats, one is feeling nourished. So the nourishment to the body is happening. And all the senses who had weakened because of the hunger, they are coming back to life. And as the stomach gets food and is processing the food, that hunger, the feeling of hunger is going away. So, and one is feeling satisfied. So similarly, when engaged in devotional service, devotee, they feel, first is devotion, they feel the love, they feel this transcendental bliss that's coming upon them. And the second aspect is pratyaksha. So just like the body is getting nourished, that void in our heart is filled with the light of Lord's mercy. We are able to see him, pratyaksha, right? We are able to see everything in relation with Lord Shri Krishna. And automatically our senses and our very being, the soul itself is enlightened, feeling completely in bliss, that in this position of Sanatana Dharma, engaging in devotional service. Jivera Sarupaya Krishna Nityadas. So we are living entities having human experience, and only in human experience can we proceed. It is described that Lord Shri Krishna, he gives various, he allows in this material world 8.4 million species types, right? So that's the category. And of them, 4 lakh are humans. 8.4 millions of them, that 0.4 million are the human categories, different kind of humans. And even though Lord Krishna, he was initially creating when this material world was there to fulfill every living entity's desire who wanted to enjoy the material world, take Lord Krishna out and put oneself in the center. So that is the reason why we are in this material world. Just like every town has a jail, right? And that jail is where people who don't follow the law of the state, they are kept so that they can be corrected in their behavior. And they're allowing various kind of living entities, the various type of conditioned bodies, the material bodies were being created. Yet at the same time, Lord Krishna was not satisfied. And it said that when he created the human form, then he was satisfied, because then he realized that the living entity, we, jivas, can actually have a path back home, back to Godhead. Otherwise, we will be caught up in this cycle of birth and death and constantly suffer in this material world. And a father, as an affectionate father, cannot see his son suffer. Similarly, Lord Krishna, he doesn't want his sons, us, the living entities, to suffer. So that's why we have received this great blessing of human life. And because of the nature and the various activities we engage in, it leads to, those karmas lead to various reactions. So from pious activities, we have good reactions. So the pious activities lead to pious reactions that we have to suffer, which also bind us in birth and death. Sinfulness, we should use it properly. And this is a story from Akbar Birbal time, that one day Akbar, so everyone just stops looking. Everyone's like, wait a minute. Birbal is saying very easy to find. We have been working for hours trying to look for his ring. Where is it? So at that time, Birbal, looking at everyone, he says, whoever has the ring actually has a straw on the beard. And immediately one courtman, he immediately looks at his beard, and Birbal sees him. He's like, he has the ring. So this courtman, he's searched. Courtier is searched, and the ring is discovered on him. So now Akbar is very impressed. He's like, Birbal, how did you find out? So Birbal reveals that a thief is always guilty. And this guilty consciousness causes them to further act in a specific manner. And that's why when he said that there is a straw on the beard, this courtier immediately looked at his beard because he had the ring. So apparently he thought that, he must have the straw because Birbal says so. And that's why he was caught. So that guilty behavior is there, which enables a thief to be caught easily. Many times we hear of this story that a thief, when he steals, he is not caught. When he's trying to place things back because of his guilty consciousness, he's trying to put it back where he stole it from, and that's when he's caught. And then he's saying, no, actually I was putting it back. But he is being punished for having taken it first, because that is a sinful action. So the reaction is still coming in the form of punishment. And the later the reaction comes, the more severe it becomes. So one lesson we learn is, when the nature is there, then we have certain propensities. And based on those propensities, one behaves in a specific manner. Similarly, sometimes people, they are very covetous, they have this cheating propensity. That's actually a defect, but some people consider it a very high quality. So at the time of Akbar, there was one man, he wanted to sell his farm and the well. So he sells it to another farmer. And after having received the remuneration, money, he signs up the deeds and everything. And now the farmer, for irrigation, he goes to get water from the well. And at that time the man comes and says, no, the water belongs to me. I sold you the well, but not the water. The man is confused. He sold me the farm, he sold me the well, but he doesn't want me to take the water. So he goes to Akbar and says, please help me, Your Majesty. So Akbar places it in front of Birbal, and both of the farmer and that, the previous owner, the seller, they are both summoned to the court. And Birbal says, why don't you tell me? So the seller tells that I sold him the farm, I sold him the well, but I did not sell him the water, so he cannot use the water. Birbal says, okay, no problem. But you should pay rent for the water, because if water is your property, you're keeping it in his well, right? So you have to pay rent for that water. And at that time, the man surrenders. He says, yes, okay, I have lost, and, the water also belongs to him. So simply, with intelligence, simple things can be solved. And here, if we use our intelligence to understand, and as Lord Dattatreya, as Avadut Brahman, he's explaining the various gurus, the instructing spiritual masters, from the 21st instructing spiritual masters, we can take proper lessons, and these are practical lessons. These are not something that's just knowledge-based theoretical. He's actually observing things in his life. So we every day are having practical experiences in our life. And we should meditate on them to understand how they teach us lessons, so that we can be a better devotee. We should always seek to improve ourselves. A non-devotee, a materialist, a person who's driven by name, fame and glories, he is always trying to prove himself, while a devotee is trying to improve. So there is a big difference between these two aspects. And we understand that, yes, we may make mistakes, but the important aspect is that making mistake does not identify that we have fallen down. Not able to get up after making mistake, not able to correct after making mistake is the true fall down. So that's an important lesson that we learn. And here, this first guru that has been discussed is the Kurara bird, right? So Lord Dattatreya is saying that this hawk, he is, being attacked by the bigger hawks, and he immediately leaves because he has an option. The option is either he can keep the meat and lose his life, or he can give the meat and save its life. So the Kurara bird, the hawk, decides that it would just, give up the meat, and thus will be safe from all the anxiety, from losing its life. And Avadut Brahman continues to narrate what is the kind of lesson he gets. He says, I do not have any family. Because if somebody has a family, then they have to work very hard to sustain not just themselves, but also their family members. Second is, they have to take care of the family members, not just that they work hard, but they have to directly maintain, make sure their needs are met of all the family members. Having money is one aspect, but using money to facilitate and maintain is another aspect. And then the third aspect is, in a family, one has to make sure that the family has a good name. So they have to worry about what is their family's standing, the social status of the family. So these three aspects cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of time that is taken away from one's life. Yet at the same time, me being a Avadut Brahman, why am I carefree? Because he's saying that I do not have a family. I can wander everywhere just like a child would. And so I don't have to worry about, all this maintaining family, even maintaining my body. I just take anything that comes in. And so he directly dives into the second guru. He's saying, from a child, I learn. So if you pay attention to a child is always playing and always busy making sounds and not really caring about things. And when it feels hunger, it just cries out. When it's feeling distress, just cries out. And he's completely relying on its parents to take care of it. So similarly, he's saying that there are two kind of people in this world. They are completely carefree. And who are these? A foolish, childlike person. So now he twists it around. From a child, he says, a childish fool is carefree. And also a saintly person. A devotee is carefree. Now that doesn't mean these two are carefree so they become one, right? It doesn't mean that a saint is a foolish, childish fool. It means that they are carefree, but there is a gulf of difference in their mindset. A child is carefree because it knows that the parent will take care of it. So sometimes people, they become carefree because they're in this childish foolishness. So the propensity is that someone will take care of me, so I don't have to worry about it. So if, I have to cross over this ocean of nations, then people will make sure that I cross over. That's why we were joking about yesterday, that sometimes to devotees, they say, now that I have received initiation, now it is everyone else's responsibility that I go back home, back to Godhead. Without realizing that initiation is an admission. Right? When you take admission in a school, you still have to take exams. And after passing the exam only, you can come to the next level and so forth. And similarly, in devotional service, the science of devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami describes the various stages, the 9th stage, Atha Shraddha, Atha Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivrati Syat. So again, there are various steps that you have to traverse through. And it all starts with faith. Having this firm belief that, yes, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am an eternal servant of Lord Krishna, and I have to engage in devotion. So, behaving in this manner is constantly meditating on Lord Krishna, constantly serving Lord Krishna, remembering his name, form, activities, pastimes, singing his glories. He is completely free of anxiety. And our acharyas, we also see them doing the same thing. Srila Prabhupada, when he saw this, the family life so difficult, and seeing that his family members, especially his wife, she was not really, benevolently disposed towards devotional service and towards the spiritual journey that she has to take in her life. And at that time, he left his family life and took sannyas. And he had grown-up sons. So again, you just don't take sannyas. You make sure that, the women in the family are properly protected. So women, when they are young, at that time, father gives them protection. When after marriage, husbands give them protection. And when they have grown-up children, the children protect them. So again, Vedic society is focusing on providing proper protection for women because they have very childish-like attitude. Not foolish childish, but childish attitude. And they are very affectionate to everyone around them. They're very caring. And they cannot see anyone in distress, any of their relatives in distress. So if you have to see Lord Krishna's affection to living entities, it is said that you should look at a mother. Like a mother, mamta is a word. There is no word like bapta. It's always referred to as mamta because that is the mood of a mother. That's an affection. And that is the closest reflection of affection of Lord Shri Krishna towards us, the living entities who are suffering in this material world, especially for us. And because they are in this attitude, and Shudras, especially in the Kali Yuga, Shudras are constantly serving humanity, right? They are always serving others. These two have special mercy of Lord Shri Krishna at current times. And we are looking at how Lord Dattatreya is revealing that he is carefree because he is constantly meditating on Lord Shri Krishna. And since he's focusing on the present moment, right? Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. So since Avadhuta Brahman, he is showing that he is meditating on the present moment, focusing, and remembering Lord Shri Krishna, his name, form, activities, pastimes. She is Brahma Bhuta, he is at Brahman state. And what is that state? Na shochati and na kankshati. First of all, at Brahma Bhuta state, one is at Brahman stage, one is prasannatma, one is very happy, one is very jubilant. And why is this a person jubilant? Because he has no anxiety. Anxiety is caused only by two factors, lamenting on the past or aspiring for the future. And such a person does not live in the past and does not, spend time in the future. Yes, take on various projects at the present moment to benefit, to please Lord Shri Krishna, to benefit humanity. Yes, that's a different aspect. So that particular aspiration is a spiritual aspiration, and that anxiety that is caused is spiritual anxiety in case of Srila Prabhupada, like how he was so curious, and in many of his poems he writes that how will I be able to deliver the people in this Western world? They are so fallen, and yet at the same time he says, Lord Krishna, please, I am a puppet in your hand, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance. So he immediately, gave up all his anxiety and surrendered at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. So the lessons we learned from his life and lessons we learned from this chapter, they are same, that we have to detach materially, that is, take us out from the center and place Lord Shri Krishna in the center and surrender all our anxieties at his lotus feet and serve him, knowing that he would provide us proper direction, he would provide us proper instructions. And we serve spiritual master with the same, because spiritual master is an external representative of Lord Shri Krishna. And by doing so, we make this life perfect. We make our life perfect. And so, he is constantly meditating. And to be able to come to this state, we can simply start by calling out to the Lordship, because it's not a right, rather it is a privilege. The devotional service is not a right, it's actually a privilege. So we have to pray to the Lordship to allow us to engage in devotional service, to allow us to please him by, carrying out activities anukulena, that is as he desires, that he favors. So that is the mood. And the process is very simple. Just by calling him out, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We are praying, O Mother Radha, O Lord Shri Krishna, please engage me in your service. So this is a very simple process to get out of anxiety and not lament on the past. What has happened in the past is already gone. You cannot fix that. What is going to happen in the future is just dream, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. What is present, we realize. That is an opportunity for us. That's why it's also called present. Present means gift. It's a gift that we have received. And only in human form of life can we realize Lord Krishna and our relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. We can be Krishna conscious. So this is the only, immediately we should use this life itself to cross over this ocean of nescience using this human body, we should be able to take care, of our purpose in this life. What is the purpose in this life? Why are we here? Why are we suffering? All these questions are answered in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, here Lord Dattatreya is showing us by practical examples from the various objects that appear in this material world as how we can become Krishna conscious and attain perfection in this very life. And as we discussed, you don't have to detach first and then attach. Just by attaching to Lord Shri Krishna, detachment happens automatically. So that is a very simple process. That's why Krishna consciousness is, paramount benefit to the human society. It is for the benefit of human society that one should take to Krishna consciousness. Everyone should take to Krishna consciousness and become Krishna conscious and engage in devotional service to please Lord Shri Krishna. Now after this, Lord Dattatreya talks about how one should be using intelligence to observe what is happening around us. He gives the story of a young girl. So that's Guru number 20, instructing spiritual master. We're using his intelligence, he's able to derive instruction. So this young girl, she was at home, and coincidentally there was no one else. All the family members had gone, all the friends and relatives, they're out of the house. And at that time, some young man who wanted to marry her, they came to the house. So she welcomed them, she made them sit. Now when we have our guests at our house, we should make sure that we offer them at least water and then provide them some kind of food stuff. So that's just the way Atithi, right? Atithi means one who comes without a tithi. In current times, people get upset if somebody comes like that. Well, and especially in COVID-19, people get scared. Yet at the same time, we should at least offer water and ask the purpose and so forth. Keep the social distancing if we have to. And understand that there is a purpose behind everything. So, Atithi means one who comes unannounced. And so these young men came unannounced. And Atithi is like God, right? There is a saying in India. We were raised with these values that Atithi Bhagwan ka roop hota hai, right? Atithi appears because they have come by Lord's mercy or by His order. So we respect them accordingly. Yet at the same time, we should have a Krishna conscious purpose when we go and visit someone. As we see Devashi Narad, every time he goes, his purpose is always Krishna conscious. He wants to benefit the humanity. Even when he meets demons, like Hiranyakashipu, or even when he meets, Kansa, the next birth of Kalnemi, he is trying to solve the purpose. He is trying to accelerate the advent of Lord Shri Krishna. So every devotees are like this, right? Where a momentary association of a devotee can provide all kind of benefits to us. So similarly, Avdut Brahman has appeared, and Yadu Maharaj is taking instructions from him. And he is going to be situated by the end in Sanatan Dharma. So from some Swadharma, he rises further up. And from this young girl's example is to make sure that all these atithis, all these guests have some food stuff, because they have come. She goes and starts husking the rice, but she's wearing these bangles made of conch shells, cutting the conch shells. The bangles have been made on her arms. And they are clattering with each other. She's husking the rice, right? When you husk the rice to remove the pebbles and dirt from the rice, you have to shake your hands. And when you shake your hands, it causes the bangles to, cling with each other and makes loud noise. So seeing that they were making loud noise, she started softly, silently breaking them away and left just 2 bangles on each arm. Yet when she was husking the rice now, she still, they were still making sound. And why was she breaking away the conch earlier? Because she was very intelligent. She did not want these young men to hear the sound and consider that her family is poor and that this girl, she has to, cook for them and engage in all these menial tasks. So that's why she, even when she had 2 and they were, clanging and making sound, she immediately removes one from each of her wrists and let just one be there on the wrist. which also is part of Sanskriti, that a young girl does not keep her wrist, or women, they don't keep their wrist empty. They always have something, a bangle or something on their wrist, because it's auspicious. And now she was able to husk and prepare the food to offer to them. And Avadhut Brahman is revealing to Yadu Maharaj that the lesson I learn is that when there are many people together, then there is always every chance of quarrels starting, people getting disturbed, having difference of opinions, and so many other events happening, which are not favorable for spiritual advancement. Even when there are two people, there could be difference of opinions, which can cause some disturbance, some, quarrel between the two, and conflicts can arise. So I have learned that one should be alone, and one should engage in devotional service alone in this mode, and thus can easily be away from anxieties, because this can lead to anxiety. So he is coming from higher level to down level, as he is saying, why there is anxiety? Because I travel alone, there is no anxiety. And anxiety is where there are difference of opinions, and there are conflicts among people, and they have different ideas and different projects and different mindsets and different aims that they are chasing again. And sometimes even towards the same aim, people are looking at from different views. Sometimes people look at that books are the basis, Srila Prabhupada said, so we should always go out for book distribution. Some devotees say, Srila Prabhupada said deity worship is very much essential, because by performing deities worship, by engaging in serving deities, anartha nivritti happens. All our bad qualities are washed away, and we are properly situated in the mode of goodness. And of course, we transcend even the mode of goodness in this manner. Some people say, we have to make sure that the temple is being kept very clean, because that is to allow the devotees to come. It's a place where all the devotees gather. And some people say we have to make sure that various Harinam events should be properly carried out, because this is the most beneficial for this society, human society. Sankirtan Yajna is the Yajna for this age. And sometimes among devotees, they gather for Ishta Goshti, ends up into Mushta Goshti, right? Mushta Goshti is wrestling. So, because of opinion differences. And it's not so much in devotee community, because when Lord Dattatreya is saying one should stay alone, he's actually saying that stay in devotee association. So when you are in devotee association, everyone is engaged in serving the Lordship. Different ways, we have different capabilities, we have different abilities, and we use all our abilities to please Lord Shri Krishna in whichever manner. And then everything is very harmonious, everything. So even though in a big orchestra symphony, someone is playing a guitar which sounds very different than violin, which sounds very different than drum, yet at the same time, even though they are playing different things, the overall symphony, the whole orchestra is sounding very melodious, because everyone is in harmony, right? Everyone is on the same beat, everyone is following the conductor. And who's the conductor for devotee? Yogamaya. She is the conductor. And who is the one enjoying this symphony that the devotees are engaged in? Lord Shri Krishna. So it's for his pleasure we are engaging in different activities. And we are following the instructions, the direction of Yogamaya. While people who are not devotees yet, they follow the direction of Mahamaya. So they are driven crazy by the senses. They are driven crazy by people who have similar propensity for sense gratification. And thus, they're constantly burning and they are constantly in anxiety. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sadeva Ashanta. Like people who are looking for Bhukti Mukti Siddhi, all this, and Kami. So whoever wants to enjoy this world, wants to be a bhogi, seeking sense gratification. Once he even wants to have mukti, liberation from this material world, to merge into Brahman. They're thinking that Brahman is all in all, and I will merge into Brahman. Or sometimes being bewildered by Buddhist philosophy, one thinks that Jagan Mithya, so there is nothing, everything is a shunya, everything is zero. So let me also become zero, which is bewildering to them. And so they are also desiring to merge and become God. And Siddhi, the meditators who are meditating to acquire various kind of mystic potencies. There are 8 kind of mystic potencies. One can become bigger than the biggest, heavier than the heaviest, lighter than the lightest, can bring, make different objects appear and disappear and so forth. So those siddhis are also seeking sense gratification. There's also for name, fame and glories. So such people who are seeking any of these 3 directions, any other direction than devotional service, are constantly in anxiety. Sadaiva ashanta, they are constantly in anxiety. While devotees are very peaceful at heart. So from the young girl, he understands that one who is alone has a steady mind. And this, just like we say maun, one who does not speak, means one who does not gossip. When you can speak all day and still be called a mauning, right? One who has not spoken a word, because you are speaking only about the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. Just like Shukdev Goswami, he was only glorifying Lord Shri Krishna and his devotees for 7 days, while Parikshit Maharaj was constantly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami, and so both of them attained perfection. One from Shravanam, Parikshit Maharaj by hearing, and Shukdev Goswami attains perfection by Kirtanam, by glorifying Lord Shri Krishna, by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj and the sages in the gathering, in the assembly of sages. And then, how does one meditate? Right? We have to understand that we have to be alone and constantly meditating. That how the meditation is there. Then he's coming to the next 21st Guru, an arrow maker. He was so focused, so much in meditation of making this perfect arrow. It's very important for arrow to be straight. So he was so much engrossed in carrying out this activity that he did not even pay attention that the king's procession went by. And king's procession means a lot of people, and they're playing various kind of instruments and so forth. And sometimes it does happen that when we are so engrossed in an activity, even when our family members call, we are not able to hear them. And they say, I told you so and so. You say, I did not hear. Why? Because we were engrossed so deeply. And most of the time it happens when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. When we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, you get so lost in reading Srimad Bhagavatam that what's going on around you, you have no consciousness of that. All your consciousness is in this sweet, melodious pastime that have been described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this manner, the arrow maker, Avdut Brahman is revealing that the lesson he has learned is that one should be so focused, And similarly, we should be so focused in Lord Shri Krishna's service. We should be performing our devotional service with so much meditation, with so much attention, so that we may not even care about what's going on in the surrounding, right? What's happening in the physical world. So that's how it is. To not even notice king's procession is a big deal. And when people came to the arrow maker afterwards, he was like, no, I did not know. When did it happen? Because he was so focused on making this perfect arrow, straight arrow. And to be able to focus that, we have to have, mind free. And yes, we know. An idle mind is a devil's workshop. So it doesn't mean that we don't think about anything. Sometimes we ask people who come to the temple and they are just meditating. And then it's very interesting. It's like, wow, that was so nice. You were meditating. What were you meditating on? It's like, I'm meditating on zero, nothing. Well, you got to meditate on something. Even thinking of meditating on nothing is something. So if you really have to meditate, then meditate on Lord's name form activities, pastimes. He's appearing as in his deity form. And you are looking at Lord's deity form, Shishi Radha Madan Mohanji, Shishi Radha Shyam Sundar, Shishi Radha Govindji. When you look at the deities, your favorite deities, when you're looking at them, then actually your eyes are closed, but your spiritual eyes are open. They are, taking the Lordship through our eyes. We have Him in our heart, where we can serve Him, we can bow down to Him and embrace Him. So again, the gopis, they would do this. they would take Lord from their eyes into their heart. The residents of Dwarka and Mathura, when the ladies would see Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna was always this restless eyes, he was looking around. So they would take Lord through their eyes into their heart and they would embrace him. So this is what we learn, that our eyes we can use in meditation to see the beautiful form of the Lord, to touch Lord's deity form as well as the devotees around us. So we get transcendental bliss, transcendental pleasure by hearing Lord's holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And various discourses that are going on YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, all these places. Then we also experience transcendental bliss by smelling tulsi that has been offered to the Lord's lotus feet, the flowers that have been offered to the Lord's lotus feet, that nourishes through the aroma that goes in. So again, we have so much opportunity to be transcendently situated by engaging in devotional service. We should use this as an opportunity. And glorifying Lord Shri Krishna, chanting his name, his glories. Our tongue is purified, just like Kaliya, when Lord danced on his hoods, all the venom went away. And he realized that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrendered with the right mood. Our tongue is like a serpent, it's like a hood of a serpent. And when we chant the holy name, Lord is dancing on our tongue and thus it gets purified. And to be able to not have other thoughts and materialistic thoughts, it means, but rather have spiritual thoughts. One has to be very careful of the engagement. So Abdul Brahman is saying that I don't care about building a house, because making a house, ensuring to maintain that house, to maintain the family members and people, residents of that house, it takes away a lot of energy and a lot of time and takes away a lot of your attention. So I don't care about this. I just wander alone and I don't have to worry about any residence. And maintenance and all other activities related to it. So I'm very careful. Yet at the same time, I'm very grave. So a saintly person has to always be watchful, always be conscious of its surrounding. That's mindfulness. Always be mindful of what is going on spiritually, not materially, because Arrow Maker tells us we don't have to be focused so materially, but spiritually we should be conscious of our surroundings. As how well are we carrying out our spiritual activities, and are we wasting our time or not? And be very grave, like Prashant Mahasagar, the Pacific Ocean. Pacific comes from pacify, right? It's also Prashant, same name. And Srila Prabhupada, when he pointed, he says, why is the ocean so silent? Then the devotees, they were like, could not answer at that time. Srila Prabhupada said, if you go near the ocean and try to say, oh, this is such a beautiful scene, it can immediately engulf you, right? The current can take you away, drive you away. But why is it more silent? Because it is deep. So a grave person means one who is very deep in meditation, in consciousness, in knowledge, and in engaging. Even the actions that can be performed three ways: mind, body, and words. So the mind of a saintly person is using his intelligence to guide all his actions in a very grave manner, very deep manner. And that's how one should be grave, not like silent. So there is a big difference. The same number of letters appear in silent and listen. L-I-S-T-E-N, S-I-L-A-N-T. They are the same number. And a person may appear to be silent but not listening, while a person may appear to be listening but may not be so silent. Sometimes that is there too, because their mind is going further as the speaker is saying something. They're going deeper, remembering different name form activities, pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. So that's how you have to be very, very grave. Further explore the depths of the ocean by being grave. So you may appear to be silent on the surface, but you're listening with this mood to get into the depths of this ocean, to understand the various gurus, as Lord Dattatreya is revealing the teachings from there. So we should be very silent, very grave, yet listening to, from our eyes, from our spiritual senses to the surroundings and take lessons from the various events that are happening all around us. So this is all very practical. And then he says that yes, how can you do all these activities? Because a serpent does not build a house. It just acquires someone else's house and live there very nicely. So similarly, he's saying a saintly person doesn't build a residence, but rather he is looking at benefiting the society as well as himself. Charity begins at home. So we have to first save ourselves. Only then we can save others, right? When you take an airplane ride, what do they say? The oxygen mask, when it drops down, first put it on yourself, then put it on the, your family members and others, then help them. Because if you run out of oxygen, how will you be able to help someone? And Srila Prabhupada once at the airport, the devotees, they were after Srila Prabhupada honored prasadam, and he asked them to distribute it to the others. The devotee was offering them to other passengers, not the devotees. And devotees were waiting, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were waiting. When will they get prasad? So Srila Prabhupada called the distributor. He said, charity begins at home. First distribute it to the devotees, and if there is something left over, then give it to others. So that is also a very important factor. And in our family, even in COVID-19, the pandemic times, all our family members, we should look at them as Vaishnavas. Some know it, some don't. That's conditioning. But when we look from that mindset that everyone is a Vaishnava and it is our responsibility as fathers and mothers in the house to engage everyone in devotional service, then all our activities, they get purified. They don't have any karmas because all our activities are dovetail in pleasing Krishna. So we should take this opportunity, this great opportunity, to read Srimad Bhagavatam, to read Bhagavad Gita, to sing glories of Lordship and engage in devotional service. The 9 processes have been defined. And of course in 11th Canto, Shukdev Goswami adds 2 more, reading and writing. Those are also devotional services. So here, also it is said that one should not reveal his movements. So a saintly person may have great plans, but wants to always stay under the radar, because knows that envious person, means materialistic people who are always seeking name, fame, glories and seeking sense gratification, they are very envious by nature. And if they come to know of a plan of a saintly person, in their envy, they make every effort, just like those big hawks taking away the meat from the weak small hawk. So envious person, they always want to take an opportunity to disturb saintly people. So sometimes this kind of things happen, and it is always, even if sometimes something is revealed, we can always retract our path back. But prevention is better than cure. Why reveal the moments? Why reveal the activities you are going to engage in and invite trouble for ourselves? So a saintly person always drives under the radar. So similarly, just like a snake drives under the radar, a saintly person should ride under the radar. And now, how do you ride in this under the radar is also very important. Then he is revealing, Abdul Bhapan is revealing in 23rd Guru, that the lessons he learns by using intelligence by observing a spider. Just like a spider spins the web, and then after some time, takes it within itself, withdraws it. So if you pay attention to the spider and the spider web, after the spider has spun a spider web, and you sometimes see that various kind of flies and various insects are caught in the web. Who is free in that spider? In that spider web. There is only a spider who is free. Everyone else is caught up in the web. So similarly, we living entities who appear in this material world, we are all caught up in this web that has been created. And all this material world, there are 2 levels of creation. The primary creation is from Mahavishnu. And then the secondary creation is through Lord Brahma, Vishnu and Lord Shiva. So sometimes people get bewildered when we talk about creation, maintenance and destruction, that Lord Mahavishnu is the responsible for all 3. They said, no. Lord Brahma creates, Lord Vishnu maintains, and Lord Shiva, he annihilates. That is in the secondary creation. Once those universes have come into existence from the breathing and the pores of Lord Mahavishnu. So in Karanodakshai ocean, in a causal ocean, Karanodakshai is also in English called causal. It is the cause of this material universe creation. That's why it's causal. And the Karan, there is a cause. And then the effect is that these universes, they come into. So with the breathing, when he exhales, various universes, they come out. When he inhales, they are again withdrawn into him. So this is from the aspect of Mahavishnu. So when Purusha and Pradhan, as time triggers this initiation, Prakriti, the material nature, comes into existence. And the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion and ignorance, they are nourishing this material universe, just like the banyan tree in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, Lord Krishna discusses. That the banyan tree, which is actually upside down banyan tree, is nourished by the three modes of material nature. And all living entities, conditioned living entities, they are under the influence of the three modes of material nature. So Avadhut Brahman is saying that I transcend them by engaging in this devotional service and understand that everything is an expansion of Lord's multifarious energies. But when he is saying that, he also said that, O powerful King Yadu, subduer of enemy. So he is saying that because he wants to identify, and Srila Sridhar Swami reveals in his commentary, that he is revealing that Yadu Maharaj doesn't have to worry about anything, because he is already a devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. And so he can easily subdue all the effects of this material energy. Yet at the same time, for us who are not yet pure devotees, and also not childish fools, we actually have consciousness that the purpose of life is to attain love of Godhead, to attain Lord Shri Krishna. And to attain that goal, we have to engage in devotional service. So that is Abhidheya. Prayojana is the goal, Abhidheya is the process, and Sambandh, that we are eternal soul, we are eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. So Sambandh, Abhidheya, Prayojana. Understanding our position, our relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. I am a living entity. As a living entity, I am an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. The process, Abhidheya, is the 9 process of devotional service, and Prayojana is, the goal is to attain love of Godhead. So from this example of a spider, we understand that this is an arrangement made by Lord Shri Krishna, and all these different kind of conditioned material bodies are there. Yet at the same time, Lord Krishna became pleased when human form was created. So we are not qualified to receive this human form of life. It is out of causeless mercy of Lord Shri Krishna that he allows us through 8.4 million species of life, through these various process of reincarnation, transmigration, we are able to get this human form of body. So this human form of life, it's conditioned again, yet at the same time it is an opportunity where we can become Krishna conscious. No other form of life enables Krishna consciousness except human form of life. So this is a great opportunity. And now how do we get that? Now we can see that, okay, Yadu Maharaj is in a great state, Avadhut Brahman is a great state, what about us? We are caught in between. Only a mad person or only an enlightened person are at peace, and they don't have anything to worry about, they're carefree. But people who have some intelligence, who have some sanity left, they really need to worry about what's about us, how are we going to pass through and cross over this ocean of nascence. So this human form of body is also called as boat. And you basically get a boat at the bank of a river, right, or at a shore of an ocean. You cross over the ocean. But then once you have crossed over the ocean, what is the use of this body, right? You don't take the boat with you when you go from that, you leave the boat. So yes, this conditioned body will be left behind. And so is the subtle body. So the gross as well as subtle body, both are left behind. So, but at the same time, how do we get that spiritual body that we are looking for? So this is where the 24th Guru is being discussed by Avadhut Brahman. He says that once a wasp allowed a weak insect to enter its residence. So again, we have the tree in the a hole in the tree is where normally wasps live, or various places. So it allowed to get into its comb area where it's living, its habitat. And now the weak insect was in fear and in anxiety, constantly thinking about this wasp outside. So this insect was constantly thinking about the wasp, and in this case, it was able to transform into wasp. So just by meditation, it was able. So similarly, under the sway of affection, by constantly feeling of, this feeling of gratitude, feeling of humility, feeling of affection towards Lordship, one can attain similar nature as Lord Shri Krishna. He is all spiritual, so we can attain spiritual destination. So Lord Dattatreya identifies different ways. So just by being driven by affection, being driven by hatred, being driven by fear, one determines their next life, the identity, based on the object that they were meditating on. So when we have too much affection towards the opposite sex, our destination is in the similar form. So people who are very much driven by sense gratifying attitude, and especially the topmost sense, as we talked about, is to just seek constant mating and enjoyment. They end up becoming pigeons or rabbits and these kind of lowly life forms. Why? Because in those life forms they get the opportunity to enjoy what they want to, yet at the same time they're constantly facing distress in those life forms, constantly facing miseries. There is nothing auspicious in the material world, yet there is everything auspicious when you are in this spiritually situated Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So everything is auspicious. So we have to just change our view. And one of the examples Srila Prabhupada gave was, there was one devotee had joined the movement, and he was at the temple and he was serving in the kitchen, and he was carrying bag of vegetables, from the truck or from vehicles to the kitchen area, and he was very upset. He said, I don't like doing this, I don't like doing this. So he left the temple, and outside he was working, so he had left the movement, and once Srila Prabhupada, he was on his walk with his devotee, and he saw this person carrying out heavy bag of like cement and other things, from one place to another. He said, why did you leave the temple? He said, I did not like carrying all that weight in the temple from the cars to from the automobiles to the kitchen area, so I left. But Srila Prabhupada said, but you're doing exactly the same thing now. So he's like, yes, what can I do? So yes, based on our karmas, the reactions have already been defined. Yet at the same time, if we do it in service of Lord Shri Krishna, whatever is coming our way, we should dovetail it to please Lord Shri Krishna, then everything is blissful. And this body, now he comes, says, after he has discussed those 24 sage gurus, Avadhut Brahman is none other than Lord Dattatreya. He is revealing that even from this body, this Nashwara body, this temporary body, I have learned some amazing lessons. So this is like the 25th, but he himself is saying that from this body, the human form of body, he has learned some amazing lessons. That in family life, the parents are constantly in anxiety, and they're worried about their home, their children, reputation, but here it doesn't have to carry about this. And this fragile material body is subject to birth and death. And one who is intelligent, one who is sober, should become devoid of this material attachment even to this body, and should properly utilize the rare gift of human life, because it's rare, right? And how should it be used? It should be used for swadhyaya, in the pursuit of knowledge, in studying Vedic scriptures. Vedas means knowledge, right? And so, by engaging in this pursuit of knowledge, endeavoring always to achieve the highest goal, and highest goal is to attain the love of Godhead, to please Lord Shri Krishna. So one should always engage in this, in devotional service, to please Lord Shri Krishna and be free from all anxieties, not have any reaction. When you do not have any reaction, you automatically go back home, back to Godhead. So simply by attaching at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, one can attain perfection. So today we discuss the last 7 gurus of the 24 gurus. They were Kurara Bird, hawk. We are giving up material attachment. One can attached directly with the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna and detached from the material propensity to enjoy and seek sense gratification, one can become easily happy. From the example of young girl, one in the lessons learned is to remain alone, and devotee association means remain alone is to give up the association of materialists who are constantly living in life of materialistic activities, seeking sense gratification, to give up that kind of association, but take the association of devotees and stay alone automatically, because that is what living alone means. And from arrow maker, we learn as how we can be so focused in our activity that we are fully meditating on pleasing Lord Shri Krishna in his name, form, activities, pastimes. We are constantly immersed in, those activities with full focus. And from serpent, we love is we should reduce the anxieties in our life. Wandering alone is again seeking devotee association, and always stay careful, be careful of our surroundings and how we are serving, and be very grave, not revealing our next moments or our current moments as well. And from spider, understand as how Lord Krishna being so merciful that he creates this material universe for us to discipline ourselves in this very life and to take to devotional service so we can become Krishna conscious and go back home, back to Godhead. And just like a weak insect being, arrested in the home of a wasp, when meditating on the wasp becomes a wasp. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada gave the example when there is an iron rod, of living entity is an iron rod, is kept in constant contact with fire, it becomes red hot like fire. If you touch it anywhere, it's like fire, it burns. So similarly, we constantly serving Lord Shri Krishna most of the time. Again, we understand that there are times that we forget. Yet at the same time, we should try not to forget, but also always remember Krishna. So always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, vismartavya na jatu chit, sarve vidhi nishedasure tayore vakinkara. So always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And these are the two prime principles, and all the other rules and regulations are just subservient of these two principles. So understanding this way, we should take to devotional service and chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And be happy forever and ever. So amazing lessons we learned. Today we completed the 24 gurus being discussed by Avadhut Brahman, revealing this transcendental knowledge to Yadu Maharaj. And then Yadu Maharaj worships the Avadhut Brahman, and Avadhut Brahman, after accepting the worship, he leaves just the way he came, and Yadu Maharaj is feeling this bliss. And Lord Krishna, after revealing this pastime, is saying to Uddhav that Yadu Maharaj, he was one of our ancestors. So he's glorifying that I came in Yadu Maharaj to please Yadu Maharaj in Yadav dynasty. So this is where he is revealing that to Uddhav, and also making Uddhav feel that how fortunate he is also to have taken birth in the dynasty of Yadu Maharaj, Yadav dynasty, Yadu Vamsha. This is where this chapter ends, and please join us for Nasimha Devati. Hare Krishna. प्यालान महाराज की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा।